right? Or what's your?
Well, I'll probably look at you occasionally.
Yeah,
And then
no.
look this way because then I'm looking at.
This is the
We're
main.
we're on right now.
Yeah, we're live.
It's all the
Salud.
way live. Hello, directly from San Diego, California, Old Town. This is Angelica Corral with What in the World Events and the show What in the World Do You Do? And we're gonna find out what David Favela, there you go. I got to get it right. Favela is doing here in the community with the founder of the Latino startup. So I'm excited
I'm
to hear
super
all
excited.
about it. And today there's a big event here as well.
Yes, there is. We're opening our new headquarters.
Mm.
So it's going to be a lot of fun today. We're here in the main room, but there's a space outside, a patio and a bar, so we can fit about 200 people.
Nice, nice. Now this is what I'm talking about, where you could get together and talk business and help people to grow their businesses, and that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So let's see, what specific problem in the Latino founder community are you trying to solve?
You know, it's a great question. A lot of people get confused when I talk about Latino entrepreneurship, because the truth is Latinos are incredibly entrepreneurial. You give someone who has nothing a wheelbarrow and they'll start a construction company or demolition. You give them a bag of oranges, they're doing wholesale produce, right? We will make something happen with almost nothing.
Yeah.
The trouble is, though, is that we tend to tap out at about $500,000 to $1 million. We don't know, not that we don't know, the fact is we don't necessarily scale beyond $1.5 to $2 million, right? You can see successful restaurants, they can generate 1.5 to 2 million, pero hasta allí.
Okay.
The gap I'm trying to address is beyond that, there's a space between 5 million and 100 million where you need to be very strategic and very purposeful in trying to think of what kind of company would allow me to grow beyond that.
Nice.
It usually involves technology. It usually involves a brand. It usually involves some kind of innovation. So that's what I'm really trying to fulfill, is that there currently isn't any program out there that I'm aware of in the United States that is helping hundreds of thousands of us to move towards scalable businesses.
Wow.
And that's what the Latino startup is about.
I love it. And I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I see we have someone here, LinkedIn user, says it's a beautiful thing, fastest growing demographic in the nation. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm excited about what you're doing. I'm I had to jump on in and say, let's see what we could do. So you have spent more than 20 years at HP, Hewlett Packard.
Hewlett Packard.
I lived in San Jose, and they have a big plant over there, or they did when in the 70s.
Yeah.
So, and this was before you launched your brewery, which is in Logan Heights, right?
Yeah.
So you've done quite a few things. You're a leading incubator at UC San Diego. And what was the key turning point for you to push from corporate into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, of course. You know, I think it's helpful to describe my journey. When I started at Hewlett Packard, I wasn't even sure what that life looked like. What is a corporation? What are the jobs in a corporation? I'm a first generation, college graduate from immigrant parents. So, yes, exactly. And I had no clue of what it took and what it was, but I got in there and I did very well. I was in global supply chain, so I got to fly around the world and look at factories and do deals and negotiate contracts. But what I really learned about halfway through my career, 10 years into it, I took this thing called StrengthsFinder, which is a popular book out there, and I recommend it to everybody out there. And it told me something I should have known about myself, that I was very strategic, that I love to learn, and that I love to educate and lead. And so just with those three things, I said, am I doing that today? And the answer was not as much as I needed to. So I changed my career to new business development. and I got to work with R&D groups. I got to work with HP Labs up in Palo Alto area, which is like super Nerdville, like the smartest people you can imagine.
I just came from there.
Yeah, and it's just wonderful, and I just really enjoyed the whole process of leading executive teams to make decisions around what new businesses to create with our intellectual property. And so that taught me like the techniques for doing a startup, evaluating ideas, thinking strategy, all those kinds of things. And one of the techniques was called Lean Startup Method. And I loved it. It was a methodical set of steps to help you demystify and de-risk new ideas. Because when you think about it, in the old school way of doing things, it was just on intuition, right? A vision someone had. And you always hear about how those become really successful. What you don't hear about is the people who had visions and failed completely because their visions were wrong. So what Lean Startup does, it tries to demystify that and say, no, don't bet it all. Do a series of steps where you're growing your evidence that you're on the right track. And if you pay attention, you might even modify your business to meet the customer demand more effectively. So reason I mentioned that is when I started the brewery, Border X Brewing, I had no business plan, no visions of becoming a impresario of beer. But I paid attention and I applied Lean to my own startup. And it ended up taking me to Barrio Logan, of all places, where I saw a need, which is Latinos weren't being served in a way that we wanted to be served. And so that's what I did. And UCSD was just an extension of that, but now I'm working with biotech and life science companies.
Yay! I am so excited because I've been exploring AI.
Yeah.
And I'm really digging a few of the things that I'm learning. In fact, did you get a chance to see the video? I know you probably haven't.
I probably haven't.
Because you've been busy. I know you've been busy, but I did a short little video about this event today. So I'll show it to you later.
Okay.
But
I did see one, I think, where you were driving. Yes, and I did see it. Okay.
That's it. So it's amazing how fast you could put those things together. Working in film as I have, and that's what I do. Also, it usually takes a long time to do the editing process, but now with AI, there's just
it's incredible.
The creativity is just off the wall.
Yeah, and it isn't just helping write it smoother or better. It's actually bringing in new ideas and new perspectives that I probably wouldn't have thought of.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, that's a good idea. I wish I had thought of that.
Well, the cool thing is that when you hear that idea, you can use that idea and make it different to suit you, just like you did with Border X to help the Latino community, right?
Totally.
So that's the wonderful thing about that. So I love it. Let's see if we have any others that have joined us. Let's see. Yay. Lisa Garcia says, this is so amazing and very needed. There you go, my friend.
I love it. I love it.
I feel the same way. Charito's all the way in the Philippines. Good morning, dear Angelica. Thank you. And she says, and David Favela.
Lisa Fevic.
Lisa, she says hi. She's in Trinidad. We got OG Cartoon. He's from Los Angeles, and he's trying to do a few things.
I think I know OG Cartoon. So
he's the homie.
You tell me if we're the same ones.
Yes. It probably he's out in LA. So
that's
there's only one OG Cartoon.
Yeah,
because he's the OG. But so it's good to see all of you here supporting, and we're so excited and hearing your comments. It just builds us up and makes us feel like we're doing the right thing here. I love it. So how did your family's immigration and working class background shape the very way that you think about opportunity, risk, and responsibility?
Yeah. That's a great question. My whole life I've been going back and forth from the border, and I was always mystified by why things were one way in Mexico and things were in a different way in the United States.
Yes.
And that's what triggered me to study Latin American history and economics, because I really wanted to understand what things led for things to turn out one way versus the other.
Uh-huh.
So I could go in detail why we were immigrants. I say my parents were economic refugees.
Uh-huh.
There are political refugees, there are refugees for other reasons. We were economic refugees. My dad could not sustain his large and growing family in a rural part of Mexico, Durango, for all your Duranguenses out there.
My dad's side of the family is from Durango.
Oh, wow.
So, okay, now I know you're the cousin.
That's right, long lost prima.
Awesome. So yeah, that's amazing.
So that's an important part of the story. So my father had to leave everything that he knew and everything that he didn't even speak English. He was lucky in that you could get legal immigration back then fairly easily. This was in the 60s before I was born. The reason I mention it is he landed in Chicago, like many people from Durango. That's like our destination city. Yeah. And he didn't speak any English, only had an elementary school education with signed documents with an X. But the incredible thing about his story is he met an engineer, construction engineer, that became his friend and mentor.
Nice.
That engineer taught him how to work cement. And working cement, I mean, is by preparing the ground, the forms, pouring the concrete, finishing the concrete. That's actually a well-paid trade job. And so I wrote a paper in college where I was talking about how vital it was that when you give someone like valuable skills, it can not only impact them, but them, their family, their community, and the rest of the United States. And so, he worked in construction for over 35 years, moved here to San Diego, made a good living, building many of the homes that you see around us.
Nice.
And so that influenced me a lot because I never met or even know the name of that construction engineer that helped my father.
Wow.
But he doesn't even know he had a huge impact on all of us. Wow. And so my view of life is one where I think I can hopefully have a positive impact on individuals that begin to reverberate across their family, their community, and hopefully the country. And so I think it's so important to have some kind of mentor, really training. I really believe in education, but more importantly, education that people can put to work. So if they're trying to start a company, I really see, and I've seen it. I've been coaching startups now for over 3 years at UCSD. One of my earliest startups actually just got $1 million investment. Another startup that I was working with just got $3 million. And so I can really see that, and I don't want to take all the credit, but there were moments where I helped them pivot and move in the right direction and trained them on how to think that enabled that to happen. So being an immigrant is everything. It really informs who I am, how I see the world, and why I do the Latino startup.
That is amazing. I love the story about your dad learning from this.
Yeah, this engineer.
It's people make a difference and they don't realize it sometimes. All right. Let's see. We have Jorge says, congratulations.
Jorge Avila. I know Jorge. Good to see you, amigo.
It's good to see the support.
Yeah.
So, what are 1 to 2 lessons from the global supply chain licensing or new business development at HP that most founders completely overlook but should be thinking about?
I think that innovation, inventing and protecting your innovation through patenting and other techniques is incredibly valuable. We started this conversation talking about what gap am I filling? I'm not trying to help people start 50,000 or 500,000 or million or $2 million companies. I think they can do that. And there's already a lot of people helping people do that. What I think, to build a scalable business, you need to have innovation as part of your business model. And if you can patent or protect your innovation, that's what gets you to 5 million, to 50 million, to 100 million. And so working at Hewlett Packard, later in my career, I became very obsessed about licensing and patenting. I even have a patent under my name, even though I'm not an engineer, but the engineers loved my collaboration that they actually wrote me down.
Oh,
and
really?
I got a little plaque. And so I'm a patented.
So which one is that? What patent is that?
Oh, it's so esoteric. It's a combination of chemicals that are used in the paper making process that interact with our pigmented inks coming out of HP printers
Okay.
and just makes the color consistency and vibrancy off the charts. And so,
That's important. You got to make things pop, right?
yeah. And at that time, we were introducing the fastest printer in the world. It's an inkjet printer. And the problem was the way the paper was coming out is it wasn't absorbing. It has to be like a sponge. But if you made it too much like a sponge, all the color would wash out because it would go into the structure.
Like a watercolor. Where
Yes.
It kind of blurs, right?
The reds become oranges, the greens become a lighter green. So anyways, if I were to tell people one thing is do not underestimate your strength of innovation. Do not underestimate your ability to look at traditional problems in a totally new way and bring a solution to it that just radically shifts the market towards you. And there's a book I read called Blue Ocean Strategy that I love and I recommend it to everybody out there. But it basically says don't compete. Competing is where you show up the same way that everybody else does, but you think you're just going to outmanage and outmaneuver and win in some form or fashion. When you're competing in the same way, you lose out always. The margins aren't there. The market share is hard to gain. But if you come in and totally change the way you come into the market, you innovate, changes everything.
I think that I love that what you just mentioned, because when you're around a person that's very competitive and they you feel like that maybe they don't want to work with you or the collaboration's not there. So I have a friend who has a saying, my friend Charles, and he says, I don't compete.
Yeah.
I complete.
Yeah. That's actually a good way of thinking about it too.
So I think it's when and this is what you're doing. You're collaborating with businesses, and I think the more people that you have working with you on that, you could help somebody else. Somebody knows this that can get help with it, right?
Yeah.
And then you could share, hey, why don't you talk to this person? I met this person.
That is one of the biggest learnings I have with my new program, the Latino Startup on School. The amount of collaboration that's going on. And the reason is that two things are going on. The people in the program, I have PhDs, I have MBAs, I have people who have 10, 20 years of experience, and they're just sharing with each other. We just brought a woman on board to the team, Veronica. She's an expert in GIS systems, geographic information systems. And I have people who are developing apps, and they're like, how do I even integrate that? How do I think about it? And they're all sharing with each other.
That is wonderful.
So that's one of the things I want the program to do is cultivate that community support, because when you get a bunch of, bad word, chingonas and chingones together, they can accomplish a lot. So it's really cool. No, it's like...
I'm going to have to bleep that out.
I didn't know they were bilingual censors, but...
I'm kidding. So, okay, we got some more people giving their thoughts. Hi, everyone. We are on the verge of a technological revolution.
Completely. Who is that?
That's Genius Arnau.
Yeah. No, we are. Never before has the power of technology made so much accessible and possible. But, I tell people, because I speak on AI and other topics, the fact that you can now create any app easily and quickly doesn't mean you should. You should actually create apps that are grounded in a problem that people need and will pay you money to do. Because sometimes when something becomes so easy, it's like, oh, I invented 10 apps. Is anyone using them? No, but I invented 10 apps. It's kind of like... maybe you should have started with a problem, like an app that people actually wanted or needed.
It makes sense. And there's a lot of problems out there, right? Marcelo Arcelai says, Team Live. Órale. He says hello from Atlanta, Georgia. This is what I love about LinkedIn. We have people from all over.
That is so cool.
And he says, hello, everyone. Hello, family. So,
and Inez's connection's not working well.
Oh, that's okay, Inez. I hope we're pronouncing your name correctly. Uh, I've never heard that name before, but
Yeah.
I love learning new names and new cultures. So that's
Mhm.
what it's all about. So you're a big guy here.
I try.
You're kind of like what was it on Anchorman? I'm kind of a big deal around here.
At least in San Diego, maybe.
Oh, well, you helped build a new billion-dollar paper technology business
Mhm.
and later scaled Border X Brewing. What did you learn about validating demand and scaling operation that applies to early stage Latino founders today?
Well, again, I think it goes back to having a good method, a good framework of thinking about problems and how to uniquely and innovatively solve them.
Mm-hmm.
So the situation at Hewlett Packard was they had invented this super fast printer, and
Mm-hmm.
the problem was the way the industry made paper. Like I said, it was either too tightly or too open, so
Mm-hmm.
it didn't dry fast enough, or the colors would run.
Mm-hmm.
I was given $60 million to go out and try to convince the world's paper companies to make paper that worked for our printers. And that's where the patent, the calcium chloride addition into the content. So, but here's where creative and innovative thought comes in. I said, you know what? I'm not going to sprinkle $60 million across the globe and try to convince people to do what we want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought about the problem, and I turned it around into what's called a reverse licensing program.
Okay.
So I did two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, I shared secret products and prototypes so that the paper industry would go, oh my gosh, this technology is really innovative. It's not just on the printer, it's on industry. Like, you have to imagine, we did industrial printing equipment that had dozens of these print heads. We do magazines, we do all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they saw that. I was at a trade show in Frankfurt, Germany, and I had this curtain in the secret room that people would come in and be like, oh my gosh, we shouldn't discount this. This is really important. We don't know what's going to happen, but HP is a big player.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. I consolidated all the intellectual property that had to do with calcium chloride integration into paper. I spent like $5 million to consolidate that, and I created a portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a real simple but innovative way of licensing the technology. I said, look, if you convert all of your production to this technology, your paper making that you do,
Mm-hmm.
and we gave them a logo, it's called Color Lock. Look at it for your local office supply store. You'll still see this logo.
I'm gonna look for it now.
Yeah, it says Color Lock.
Nice.
You don't have to pay a penny. Like, it's free. So I created value where there was no value.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of them that didn't, like, I call them the toe dippers, the ones that were like, well, this technology may or may not be good.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to pay a royalty. So I generated like $20 million, well, probably more than that now,
Mm-hmm.
for the paper companies that were toe dippers, the ones that didn't convert their entire production.
Oh, okay.
You know, the inspiration for that was, I think it was Tom Sawyer when he was painting that fence,
Mm-hmm.
and he told all his friends and family, oh, this is so much fun. And they're all like, really? Yeah. And they would pay him 10 cents so they could paint the wall too. And then he just sat back counting his money. He was just like, so that was kind of my inspiration, but it's just really being innovative and not just accepting how things are done, but really questioning, like, what is the mindset of the paper companies? How do I present information to help mold that?
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with Border X. I use lean startup principles. I tell people there's no way I could have imagined going from a little tiny brewery in La Frontera with Mexico
Mm-hmm.
and expanding into Barrio Logan, but it worked because I did things in baby steps, and that's kind of what lean startup is. It isn't like this big bold, like, hey, get $2 million together and just plunk it down on a spot and cross your fingers that it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
No, we started small. We even did a pop-up in Barrio Logan. It went really well. Then we did a 6-month lease in Barrio Logan to kind of see if it would work. And yeah, it worked really well. And then that gave us the confidence to go up to the next step. And we rented a big facility that we were in. But again, it's innovative thinking, not accepting the way that things are, and really thinking carefully about how to make some of these moves. And that's what I teach in the Latino Startup.
Awesome. Awesome. I love how you explain how you went about it. And I'm sure everybody's going to want to get together with you, including me. so we can talk some business on the
Yeah.
side. You hear that, everybody? You guys got to connect with this.
Creativity goes a long, long way.
My friend, Calm Michael, he says, Habari gani, nzuri sana, nzuri sana. That's a little Swahili.
Oh,
Yeah. So craft beer is a crowded market, right?
very much so.
How did you design Border X Brewing and Mujeres Brew? So you helping out the
Yeah.
Mujeres too now.
Yeah.
Nice. Brew house to be culturally specific yet broadly successful.
Yeah, this was exactly how you use lean startup as a learning technique.
Mhm.
So when we went to Barrio Logan, well, the first thing that we did, we were the 86th brewery in town.
Wow.
86th craft brewery.
San Diego is brew town.
Oh no, and it got to like 200. So there was even more coming behind us.
Oh wow.
But we were faced with a very strategic choice.
Mhm.
Did we follow the market, which the market at that time was all about IPAs.
Okay.
And so they were everyone was trying to out IPA each other. My IPA is great. No, mine's better.
Mhm.
And that's what's called a red ocean. Everyone's just competing on one vector. They're all kind of cookie cutter in some way, and they
Mhm.
think that they're going to be the best IPA.
Mhm.
I saw that and I said, there's no way I'm jumping into that pool. Like I
Mhm.
rewrote the rules of the game.
Mhm.
I said, we're going to be a Mexican craft brewery.
Mhm.
And we were like, well, what is that? And that meant that we're going to go look to our culture and our traditions for
Mhm.
flavors.
Mhm. Mhm.
And my nephew, the first beer that he made was what's it called? Blood Saison, which is a Jamaica, right? Jamaica inspired craft beer.
I
So
want some.
it was like, to be our first beer as an
Uh-huh.
exemplar of our strategy, it was glorious. It
Mhm.
was bright ruby red like no other beer you've ever seen.
Mhm.
And it had this foam on it, and it had that kind of like tartness from Jamaica.
Mhm.
We had a little bit of agave and sweetened it up a little bit, so it was really well balanced. People went crazy for it. They absolutely
Mhm.
loved it. No one had ever seen a real Mexican craft beer.
Mm.
Because most of the stuff that people drink, Corona, Pacifico, all those are actually variations of what's called a Vienna lager that was brought over by Maximilian to Mexico.
Oh.
So it's made in
Interesting.
Mexico, but it's not really a Mexican beer. If you go to China, the same recipe,
Uh-huh.
oh, that's a Chinese beer, but there's no cultural content. It's not differentiated. It's just
Uh-huh.
they're naming a beer based on where it's made, even though the recipe can be almost identical.
Oh wow, that's now you got me wanting to try the Jamaica beer.
So, but that goes to the point I was making earlier.
Uh-huh.
Innovate,
Innovate.
and just to kind of tell you how important it was to us, our little brewery was always on the top 5 breweries to visit in San Diego. With over 100, 150, almost 200, we were always on the short list.
Uh-huh.
Why? Because we were unique.
Yes.
And people loved us. And then in 2020, I was actually nominated for a James Beard Award, which is a
Ooh.
prestigious culinary award for
Amigo.
for the innovation,
Uh-huh.
right?
Mhm.
And so I'm very proud of what we did. I'll tell you one last beer we made that I think exemplifies. So our most famous and popular beer was a Pepino Sour.
I want some.
Right?
I
just told you, and you were like.
want
So for those of you who don't know what a Pepino is, it's a cucumber sour beer. It had a ton of fresh squeezed cucumber, lime, and we sold so much of that beer. It's still to this day probably our most popular beer.
I want it now.
And again, about being innovative, no one else has made anything similar to it. We're the only ones.
I believe it. Michael here says, I like beer. What are you producing? Well, you heard that. You got to come on down to Border X Brewing, Michael. He's in Victorville right now. So
Nice.
now you have an excuse to come to San Diego. So what can tech founders learn from that approach?
Oh, it's easy. You because that approach was mixing two things: lean startup with
Mhm.
blue ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very experimental approach to developing your business. So what lean says is don't bet the farm on your original idea. You need to get something out there in front of customers and start getting feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, when we launched the the Jamaica beer blood saison, the
Mhm.
feedback was off the charts. People went crazy for it. So we knew we were on the right track.
Mhm.
So then we made an Abuelita's chocolate stout. You'd probably love that one. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, our pepino sour. We just.
I'm gonna have to go to Border X now. I haven't been there in a while. Last time I went was for the Latino Film Festival.
That's right, the unveiling of the poster.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what I can teach tech startups, because a lot of times, very gifted builders, people who know how to program, will jump right into building the solution based off of intuition. And too few of them ever bother to talk to customers
Mm-hmm.
or get feedback from the people that they're trying to solve the problem
I
for.
love that.
So I'm really adamant about breaking that process. Yes, it's great to have intuition,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can find people who are your target customers, go talk to them.
Yes.
Find out how serious the problem is that you're trying to solve. How are they solving it today? What would they want in a solution? Like, there's so much value you can get in that communication.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Professor Stephen Blank wrote the book about customer discovery.
Mm-hmm.
He said, no good ideas occur within these four walls. In other words, your team of engineers or market research isn't enough. You have to get out there and connect with the public.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, it's just like when we started the beer strategy, it
Mhm.
validated that we were on the right track.
Nice.
So I would tell tech startups, be innovative, but get that feedback from your customers. Because if you're flying blind and just building something, there's a reason why they say 95% of startups fail within 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them just built the wrong product. No one wanted their product at the end of the process,
Mm-hmm.
which is heartbreaking. I
Yeah.
can't imagine the amount of work and energy that goes into it.
Yeah, that's interesting, but it's true. It's good to get feedback, and I think even here with the startup that you got going on, you're gonna get feedback from everyone that's here as well.
Well, I actually started with a small cohort,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the ones who helped me develop the program. And I asked them I said, look, I don't know exactly what the solution is,
Mm-hmm.
but if you guys are willing to go down this path with me, I'll take your feedback and I will modify the program until we figure out what does work.
Awesome.
So you can apply this to all
everything.
kinds. Yeah.
Okay.
Even nonprofits and others.
I'm fired up, man. You've inspired me. This is an inspiring. I know y'all are saying this is an inspiring podcast here, and I'm glad that you came to not only inspire us, you educated us, you inspired us. We're ready to go. Let's go.
Let's do this.
So what is it when you meet a new founder in the Latino startup community? What are the first 2 to 3 questions you ask?
Oh, that's one, who they are, because I'd like to get an understanding of how they arrived at this point in time that they're wanting to join my program.
Uh-huh.
2, what the problem is that they're solving. So this isn't to throw shade on anybody, because it's the most normal thing that
Mhm.
people get these ideas
Mhm, mhm.
and they love their ideas. In fact, they fall in love with their ideas and they're like obsessed and want to talk about that. But I say, wait, time out. And in fact, I've heard this from a lot of VC investors. One of the first questions in a slide deck,
Mhm.
whenever someone says, oh, I'm working on a CRM database or automation tool for this and that,
Mhm.
for them, it's like a red flag. They're like, okay, wait a second, time out. Who are you building this solution for?
Mhm.
Like, what problem are you solving? There's plenty of CRM database managed automation tools out there,
Mhm.
but what market or specifically, what person are you trying to solve the problem for? Because if you don't understand that, it means that you're just building something that you think is cool.
Mhm.
And so that's the second question. It's like, they want to talk to me about their solution.
Mhm.
I want to talk about the problem.
Mhm.
So I kind of guide people to switch gears, and they're like, wait a second, no one's ever asked me that.
Mhm.
Like, I'm solving it for everybody. And it's like, nope. And that's too vague, too general. Like, you really need to know
Got a
who
niche down, huh?
you've got a niche down, and you have to have a clear idea of who your customer is. Even if there's millions of them, who is the person that you're trying to solve the problem for?
Okay.
So I really try to assess that. And then lastly, I kind of start pitching this whole lean startup method to see if they understand what the next steps are that they should take, that, that there's a method to the madness, that you don't have to just work really hard,
Yes.
hustle, put product out there. No, you have to be thoughtful. I didn't coin this term, but I tell people you need to go slow so that you can go fast later on. So build your foundation one step at a time. Who's my customer? What's their problem? How are they solving it today? And how serious of a problem is it? And then I get creative around how do I solve this problem? And that's where the greatest ideas come from. The ones that are grounded in reality, not just in intuition.
Nice. I love it. I love it. So let's see. We have a few more. Lisa. Lisa's saying hi to her best friend here.
Of course.
So, well, we're so glad that all of you have joined us, and I'm sure that you guys are getting a lot of good ideas and inspiration from our friend David
Absolutely.
Favela. I have a friend. Her name is Debbie Favela. I wonder if you guys are related.
We might be.
We'll have to look into that. So you emphasize lean startup and problem statements, right?
Yeah.
With your cohort, what's the most common mistakes that you see? You just mentioned a little bit about it, right?
I think the most common mistake is thinking they have the solution and just wanting to build it and not taking the time out to be like, wait a second. Because the lean startup process is actually 3 steps I'll mention. Can't go through all of it, but the first step is problem statement. Like I said earlier, like, who is your customer? What is the problem? Number 2 is doing research and analysis. Like, okay, is this problem big enough to solve? Like, is it a $10 million market? Is it $100 million? Is it $1 billion market? So you need to do at least a kind of a superficial analysis. And who else is solving this problem today? Who's the competition? And how are they solving it? And then the third step, which I really value, and I think, and I've emphasized it to some bit, but the third step is what's called customer discovery. That's where you are supposed to go out and interview people that fit the persona. In other words, they're the target demographic that you're trying to solve the problem for. But here's the catch, and everyone falls for this. Oh, I met with 5 people and I told them my idea and they think it's wonderful and that I should do it. And it's like, yeah, you just broke the number 1 rule of customer discovery. You can't talk about your business. You're actually supposed to talk to people and say, hey, I know you have this problem. How serious is this problem? How do you experience it? How do you solve it today? Are you satisfied with you never talk about your business idea because that's more valuable getting that feedback than having people say, oh, you're so brilliant, great job, you should do this business.
Well, I think another thing, like you mentioned, when you talk about your idea like that, sometimes people feel like, oh, they're trying to sell it. You sound like you're trying to be a salesman, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being interested in the person. So I think that asking those questions
Thank you.
make people, they think, oh, well, this person really cares about my problem.
Thank you for saying that. That's actually the most important thing, is to be present and empathetic to understand your experience. And people feel that. Like, if I ask you questions about something that bothers you, you're like, oh, let me tell you, I don't like this, and this is why I don't like it. It's cathartic, right? If you do this right, you get a ton of really valuable feedback. And what allows you to do is, you don't do 1 interview. You're supposed to do 100. And I know that sounds crazy, but with the biotech firms that I've worked with, the ones that are not a single year project, but multi-year projects that cost millions of dollars.
Yes.
We did interview 100 doctors, EMT, hospital professionals. We were doing 20 a week. It was grueling, but the amount of information and feedback we got rocked our world. And in that particular case, they said, yeah, we don't need your product. Wait, what? We have a patent. It's incredible science. How do you not love? And they said, no, we don't need it. We would rather solve it this other way. And the good news is it actually helped us pivot away from humans as our target demographic to dogs and veterinarians. So it was a blood substitute solution. And guess who gets surgeries? Dogs do. And they don't have a good blood supply. And so this invention that this PhD.
That is awesome.
So
I love that.
Yes. And the only
and I think they should have that at the hospitals. They should.
Yeah.
You know, even if they have, you know, one variation, there should be another thing to choose from.
Yeah.
You know.
So it was just a wonderful way of getting clarity on like what the challenges of the market were going to be. And I think it was 5 weeks. We did 20 a week. And so that was 100. And the insight we got, imagine that. I mean, so much so that we're like, you know what, we're headed down the wrong direction. Let's stop this and let's change our strategy. And I could tell you dozens of stories like those when people are really committed to the process and not falling in love with what they thought the world needed. They come up sometimes with something that's even better. And so that's the importance of customer discovery. I'm a big advocate for it.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me a little bit about the whiteout, how whiteout got invented, right?
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, I think I forgot most of the story because I got the little bit of the sun timer, but
yeah.
No, but it was a mom that worked as a secretary, and what she did was she got tired of having to type papers over again. So she came up with the idea of painting it over with whiteout. So this is archaic, you know. I'm from the.
But it's great.
But she came up with the idea, and it really helped a lot of people out because a lot of people would make mistakes. They didn't have the backspace on your typewriter. Then this all. They're like, what is she talking about?
I think we're definitely dating ourselves. But no, sometimes the things you discover on the entrepreneurial journey are even better than your original idea. You know, the great story is, you know, Wrigley gum. And I know it's an old school gum. But it was the first commercial chewing gum.
I like a juicy fruit.
Yeah, juicy fruit. But the interesting thing is the guy who started it was initially not a furniture salesperson. But he had picked up these boxes at the Chicago World Fair of chicle. Because the Brazilian group had brought chiclet, but it hadn't been commercialized. And he was leaving them behind as like marketing things like, hey, thank you for your time. Here's a box of chiclet. Well, people said, look, I don't want your furniture, but can you give me 5 boxes of that chiclet stuff? It's wonderful. I love it. You know, I'm trying to quit smoking, or I like the flavor or whatever. And so he built Wrigley's chewing gum, and he became one of the richest men in the United States at that time, based off of that insight. He found a better problem to solve.
That's
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. And so I remember watching those commercials.
Yeah.
So if you could put one sentence in the head of every aspiring Latino entrepreneur in San Diego, what would it be, and why?
That's easy. Sí se puede.
Yay!
I think.
Sí se puede.
Exactly. So the one thing I think holds back most Latinos is our mindset.
Yes.
We're capable, we're smart enough, we might have the right resources and connections to execute some really great stuff. The thing is, in my research, I've discovered that one of the reasons we don't succeed in starting up bigger companies is because we've just been told our whole life to get good grades, get into the right college, get the right career, grow in your career, retire, game over. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. much respect for everybody. But the thing is, it's never been implanted into their head of, okay, get into your career, invent something, make $500 million and create generational wealth for your family. Like, that's not a story that most people hear. And I've interviewed Latinos, first gen, who went to prestigious schools, MIT, Harvard, Stanford, all those. And I asked them a real simple question. Whoever told you that you could be an entrepreneur? I'm like, well, my parents were entrepreneurs is the closest I get. They were restaurateurs. But guess what? Parents who are working really hard just to survive,
Mhm.
guess what they want? They want their kids to get a professional job, a secure job, something where they don't have to work so hard.
Yeah, they don't want them to work that hard.
It's not even in the parents' mind that instead of just doing that, you send them to Stanford for engineering,
Mhm.
they could also do a startup. And so that never enters into our mindset. And so
Yes.
that's the one thing I would say, and the biggest challenge I think that the Latino startup is taking on is we have to change up the game. We have to put new ideas. I call it deprogramming. I got to take all these folks and deprogram what they thought their whole lives
Mhm.
and tell them, si se puede.
That is awesome. Well, just sitting next to you and hearing all of your wisdom here, I'm feeling the si se puede vibes, and I'm little by little getting deprogrammed. No, but honestly, it's we really need we need people around us that are like cheerleaders
Yes.
to help us keep moving forward, right?
Yes.
And that's what I love about this startup community.
Yeah.
I think it's going to really help people, say I really need to hang out there and get my.
You do, because I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm really leaning into is storytelling. So one of my first startups at UCSD was Ruth Young Loaza. She was, I believe, in her 40s, 50s, had been a hotel housekeeper, making beds, cleaning, emptying trash.
That's a hard job. That's rough.
Thank you for saying that. Super hard job. Had done it for over 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
But she had to step away from the work because her husband was injured. But in that time, her mind keeps working. And that's how come I know that our talent can exist anywhere. She has no degrees, no formal training, but she designed a hotel bedsheet system that was tight, that was easy to do. It didn't require the lifting and the tucking. So she patented this system. She got 3 US patents on it, which is incredible.
Nice.
And I met with her and we focused on the hospitality industry, like hotels, because I don't know if you know this, but like the Marriott company has 1.5 million beds under management.
Wow.
In other words, if they're busy everywhere, they're making 1.5 million beds per day. So think about it. How long does it take the average housekeeper to make the bed?
Yes.
How injury inducing is the movement? Because think about it. Many are like, she's 110 pounds. So for her to lift a bed, tuck it is exhausting. You're twisting, you're turning. But, and when people hear she just recently got this $1 million investment, when people hear like, wait a second, Ruth, no formal education, hotel housekeeper, patented technology, and just raised $1 million so that she can continue to grow her company.
That is awesome. Yeah.
Isn't that? I think that
I love those stories.
They're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Like those, I hope to tell more and more stories so that our community can start believing in themselves and start telling new stories about what they're capable of.
We need you, and I don't know if you've done it before, but if not, we need you on the TED Talk.
I know. I have a lot to say.
You do, and it's really interesting. It's educational, inspirational, all of the above. So more people need to know. So, what's the talent foundry in practical terms? If a founder walks in the door, what do they actually get?
They get a customized consulting program that helps them have what I call clarity about what the next steps are in developing their idea. Without a framework, a lot of people get overwhelmed. They're like, I'm going to start my company. I got to work on the logo. I got to get business cards. I got to register in Delaware. I've got to be an S Corp or whatnot. And it's like all this stuff they don't have to do. So knowing the sequence of what's first, what's second, what's third is an incredible relief. And what I try to do is give them clarity of like, don't bite off everything. Just do this one thing. Who's your customer? Oh, okay, think that through. Now go and do some research on your market. Okay, don't like worry about the rest. Take it one step at a time. And that's why it's called lean startup. The whole idea is don't overinvest time, energy, or resources if you haven't created the foundation of your idea. And so I think that's what I give people at UCSD, the Talent Foundry, is a structured way of approaching their business in a way that doesn't stress them out or force them to kind of do too much immediately. Because you know what happens when you get too much? You kind of you're all over the place, you're disorganized, you're not effective, and unfortunately you burn out.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I end every meeting with, do you have clarity? Do you know what's next? When are you going to finish those steps? And so that's it. I strip away the rest, keep them focused.
That's awesome. So what does success look like for you?
Oh, that's easy. So it's in my tagline. I say, I want 100,000 more Latinas and Latinos to come into the startup space so that they can create businesses that succeed, that scale, that become important, and contribute to our communities and to the overall country. And I think 100,000, I picked it out of the blue because it was big enough to be meaningful. Like, imagine if I just said, I want 100 people. It's like, well, that's nice, David, but that's not really going to change reality. If I set a target big enough, like 100,000, it really changes everything because like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's a big number.
How the heck is he going to do that? But, there's this book called Built to Last, written by Jeffrey Porras, a professor of business at Stanford. And he studied the biggest breakthrough companies, and he said they all have what's called, and it's a weird term, a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And it's a BHAG because no one knows exactly how to get there, but they're setting the direction to get there. And so if you think about Steve Jobs, to kind of bring it back, his BHAG for his engineering team was, I want 1,000 songs in my pocket. Now remember, CDs, I'm sure you traveled and carried your portfolio that weighed like a ton. And you're like, oh, this CD's got 10 or 12 songs. And so imagine 1,000 songs, like you'd have to have, 100 CDs? Like, it'd be ridiculous. That would be a whole suitcase. They said, no, I want it in my pocket. And that's how the iPod was developed.
Nice.
And having, I think, an audacious goal like 100,000 more, maybe it's too small, but at least it's big enough to make me think about how does this grow across the nation and doesn't stay here in San Diego alone.
Hay que darle porras al señor Porras.
Hay que darle porras.
Porras we got to give him his props.
Look him up. Built to Last. He's won a lot of awards for that book. Phenomenal gentleman and Latino. Jeffrey Porras.
So let's see. You said, let's see, we have a few people that have come in. Tom Cullen says, hello, Angelica and everyone else. Thanks for joining us from Canada, my friend. We appreciate you being here and showing your support. You guys are awesome. So you sit between UC San Diego biotech and life science companies, investors, and underrepresented founders.
Yeah.
So what have you learned about translating between those worlds so founders don't get lost in the jargon and power dynamics?
I think I'm just beginning to address this challenge. For 3 years, I looked for diverse startups, biotech startups. And I found some, which is great, but not enough. And this is why I started the Latino Startup, because what I found is it takes a big leap to go from I'm working as a doctor or as a researcher in biotech, and I'm getting paid a good salary in life, and this is as far as I need to go in life. Very few people were making the jump to like, hey, you mean I could invent something? I could patent it. I could build a business around it. I can create a $100 million business. That's what I discovered was the biggest challenge, is that no one is telling them or training them on how to leverage their knowledge and insight and innovation to potentially become entrepreneurs. And that's what led me to do what I do today, which is I'm looking to find those people who have that inclination. They're not exactly sure what the idea is, but they're not even, for one thing for certain, they don't even know how. what the process is to take an idea, vet it out, and see if it could actually become something bigger. And I think that that's the insight I got from working with diverse startups and biotech, life sciences, and it was the same. They just didn't know what to do next. You know, the blood substitute person or other biotech startups that I had, knowing the first steps, knowing how to raise money. You know, the hardest thing is, and I don't know if this is a Latino thing, maybe, it's very awkward to ask for money from anybody. It's even harder to ask for money from complete strangers. And I think that is like a cultural block that I'm trying to train people out of. And the way you train them out of is, look, this is a great idea. I developed it. Here's my pitch deck. If you have any questions, you know, I know the answers and I'm prepared to answer all of them. And that's my focus right now, is helping people become better champions for themselves and for their startups, and to gain VC capital or any third party funding, whether it's, you know, people that you know or wealthy individuals, or whether it's a VC fund that's going to invest in you.
Yeah. You know, my son used to go to La Jolla Elementary, and they have their fundraisers, right? And I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs there in La Jolla, because when they have their fundraisers for the school, they made like $300,000 from a fundraiser. And I'm like, we got to figure out how to do this.
That's the thing, is we're not even playing in that game.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. When I first started the brewery, Border X, now 12 years ago, we were able to raise like $24,000 from family and friends, and we started the brewery with that $24,000.
Oh, wow,
ridiculous.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah. There was another brewery that I won't name that started in the same time, and I got to take a peek at their financials. They got $1 million from their dad, $1 million from their brother, and another $1 million. So their startup was $3 million capital raised immediately, and I was like,
what?
How does that even happen?
Yeah.
And even as an MBA and someone who's been in corporate world, I even struggle with raising capital. It's a very specialized world with valuations and multiples and different kind of investment vehicles, and knowing what the investor wants to hear. That's also one of the things that I do in the Latino startup, is I try to help people get comfortable with that, different kinds of ways of gathering capital. And so
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. This is all like so exciting. So let's see if we have any more visitors. So from your perspective, what are the most damaging myths that Latinos carry?
About fundraising and what mindset. This is exactly what we were just talking about. The biggest myth is we're not comfortable with taking other people's money to start our companies. I think part of that comes from a culture in Mexico where credit isn't really a thing, and investment capital isn't available to everybody equally. Unfortunately, we know Mexico has its challenges. I love Mexico. But, you know, depending on what social class you belong to, is your access to capital.
Yes.
If you belong to the 1%, getting a few $1 million from your uncle, your aunt, whoever is like, yeah, of course, no worries. When do you need it? Trying to get 100,000 or 10,000 when you don't have that same social network is much more difficult.
Yeah.
And Mexico is more of a country where they don't have free capital markets. In other words, they don't have pitch competitions. They don't have like, hey, we're ready to invest in you, you know, if you have a great idea, regardless of what social economic ladder you're on. Unfortunately, you have to have pedigree, what family, what background, what school. I think the great thing about the United States is it has liberated the capital markets.
Nice.
The U.S. is more interested, investors in the U.S. and VC firms, and this is my strongly held belief, they have money that they're looking to invest to make money. And I think we can overcome the bias, like I'm not from the 1%. I'm not from even the, I don't know, whatever percent. But if I have a great idea and I've done all the steps to prove that it's a good idea and that if I execute this, it could result in great profits for people, especially if I invented and patented something like Ruth did. People gave her $1 million.
Nice.
Right? I mean, it's like money wants to make money in the United States. It's not the same in other places around the world.
Yeah. Wow. And she found a way to get her idea across so that it was believable. Well,
it's the work we did together.
Oh, so you worked with her on that?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, nice.
When she was initially came into my program, she was going to sell online to consumers. She had a website. She was trying to, make that work. And I said, we need to focus on people who have the problem the most. And that was the Marriott company.
Yes.
And so we pivoted, and it changed the marketing. It changed the sales process. It changed the go-to-market. Then we started doing trials with hotels here in San Diego. So we would go to a hotel, time the time it took to change the bed. Because if you can save money, and I'm talking, we did the math for the Marriott, it's like tens of millions of dollars that they're going to save if they use her bedsheet system.
Yeah, not only money, but the time.
And the ergonomics.
Because they want people to hurry up and get those rooms ready for the next customer.
100%. And that's why a lot of housekeepers, they also deal with a lot of turnover because housekeepers are under pressure, overworked, stressed, doing really difficult work.
Yes.
So it was funny that the housekeepers where we were prototyping the sheets, they were like, queremos usar esas porque es mucho más fácil. Like they wanted the product.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome.
That's when you know you've created something of value.
So they were like, those are the ones that I want to use because it gets the job done fast and I don't have to use my whole body and be in pain here.
Exactly.
So it looks like we could keep talking on and on about this. It looks like I'm going to have to do part 2.
I think so. Maybe we can focus on some of the startups because I think.
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah, because Ruth's story is incredible. But like her, I have another dozen that we could talk about. And again, the power of it is the one thing we can do for Latinos and anybody out there who's thinking about being an entrepreneur is si se puede.
Yes.
But you have to approach it methodically. You have to approach it with a mature mind and an objective mind. And if you follow the steps, you'd be surprised where you end up.
Awesome. So today you're having this great event here in Old Town. And I can't wait to taste the hors d'oeuvres and the drinks. I wish they had some pepino beer.
I know. That's coming, but we don't have it today.
That's okay. I'm going to have to definitely try that and the Jamaica beer and the chocolate. You got me all excited about trying these out, but I'm so excited about all of these wonderful, innovative ideas and all the people that you've helped and all the people that you're going to be helping. So
I do too. And, opening up this space to me is another chapter in this solution. This is still my prototype. So we'll have a physical headquarter where people can come and work, get a good coffee, sit down with their computer, have business meetings. We're going to hold events here, pitch competitions, speakers, lectures, and it's just intended to be this hub. And the thing I'd say is there's no one out there right now building solutions like this. It's up to us to build them for us if we're going to move forward. And that's why I'm excited about the Latino Startup and adding this physical headquarters as a place where we can actually do the work together.
Nice. So let's give them the address here so they'll know when to come.
Right? Oh, you threw me
I threw you a curveball.
Yeah. Well, here's a great way to look it up. We're right next door to Cocinas del Monte. Here in Old Town.
I think it's 2539.
I think you're absolutely right. It is 25 and 39 Congress Street. So we would love to have you here. We'd love to have you join. And one of the things I'll answer is we are called the Latino Startup, but it's because we deliver our program with a Latino flair. It's open to everybody. If you're down, if you like our culture, the way we celebrate things and how we move, you're welcome to join our community. We don't turn anybody away.
I love it. So you heard that. Come on down. Now, what if somebody lives in Los Angeles or another city? Is this predominantly for San Diego or?
Predominantly for San Diego, but my vision is, depending on how this works out over the next 2 or 3 months, which I think is going to be fantastic,
Mhm.
this is part of our new model.
Okay.
So when we go to LA, which we absolutely will,
Mhm.
we'll bring this model with us. So we'll try to find a place that we can activate.
Round of applause.
Yes. No, because nothing like this exists as far as I know. I mean, think about it. In San Diego or Los Angeles, is there a place that's a hotbed of Latino entrepreneurialism? Probably not.
Not that I know of.
Correct.
It looks like we moved around a little bit.
We
huh?
did a little bit. Hopefully everyone got at least half of me.
We're so glad that all of you joined us, and this is going to be on replay on LinkedIn, so it could always be shown to other friends that you know of. But we're so excited about what's happening here, and I look forward to joining on this startup quest here.
Keep an eye on us. We'll report out, but I think there's great things happening, and this is just the next step in that.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.
I did as well. So hope to see you all on the next one, and we love you. Have a good night. Bye.